Hi guys, it's Chris with City Your Homestead, and so time for video 2. I don't know if I just named it wrong, but I didn't get very many views on it, either video yesterday actually, but I'm just going to put video 2 up of this one. But, so I'm going to try to get through all the rest of this, and hopefully some of this helps. And if you guys have ideas that you think you can, from the old days, can help people, then by all means put it below as well. You know, as a community, we have to focus on how much we can actually help each other. And there's ideas that are not posted on the internet. Maybe it's something just your grandparents did or whatever. I did find one thing in here that my grandma used to do, and I never understood why, but now I do. So, you know, I guess we live and we learn. And again, like I say, learning from the past, we should never forget that. And so much through materialism and, you know, corporations and everything else, we've really been led away from learning from our ancestors in the past and whatever. And yeah, let's not give up all of what they did, because you know what? That's what made it so that corporations could learn. And there's some things I was looking on the videos that corporations still have not learned how they actually could do that, and so they haven't figured it out themselves. So I think that's pretty cool. So back to more tips. Audit your refrigerator every 3 days. You know, kind of pull things forward if you know that it's going bad, whatever it happens to be, you know, because we know once it gets to the back of the refrigerator, it's gone. Turn over ripe fruit into something. You know, some people will dehydrate it, freeze dry it. I don't have a freeze dryer, but, you know, maybe make it into a single serving jelly, jam, or just freeze it up. I actually buy fruit to freeze up so I can put it in the bottom of Tom's yogurt. So use it up. Store mushrooms in paper, not plastic. Plastic makes it get condensation in there and makes the mushrooms go a lot faster. I did not know that. So when I get home from now on, I have little lunch bags and I'll put them in that. Make stock when things are going bad. And, you know, that's any of your vegetables, anything like that. Make a stock with it. I guess they made stock with everything back in the day. So make stock with it. This was one that I never ever thought of either. Line your crisper drawer with a paper towel because of condensation, and your stuff in the crisper drawer will last longer. Keep a spot where everything that you need is to be used and keep up front. We already talked about that. Dry your own herbs. This is something my grandma did, and I was like, I don't know why she does that. Freeze cheese in small amounts in wax paper and foil. And actually, that's how she kept it in her refrigerator. So she would use wax paper when she'd get cheese, and she'd wrap it up in there and then wrap tin foil on it. And I'm like, why are you doing both? Well, now I know why. It's to keep it fresher, and it makes it so that your cheese doesn't want to break apart if you do freeze it. That one I've seen my grandma do. So vinegar and salt for soft cucumbers helps bring them back. Store nuts and seeds in your freezer. It will prolong them for a long, long time, where they'll go rancid out in the wild, you know. Vinegar, rinse your berries. This is one I'm guilty of. Label everything in your freezer. You're going to forget what you put in there. Now, if it's a meal that I put in there, I do tend to label it because I want to know what I put in there. But when we were cleaning out the freezers, I found things I had to actually open to see what it was. Keep butter in water, the Bell butter. I don't have one of those, but I've thought about looking into that because they say it makes your butter last a long time. Because my last little tiny bit of butter went bad. It, what was it, 2 or 3 days ago? It wasn't much left, but you hate to waste any of it. Transform, don't discard. And that's something I've been trying to show the last couple of days, that if you've got one thing left, you know, build something around it. And like today, for our dinner, we're going to have 2 things I've got left over in the freezer. It's not a lot of either one, but I'm going to get rid of them. Not rid of them, but, you know, make something from them. So actually, all 3 things have been opened, and I'm going to use it up for a meal. 30-second fridge trick. Yeah. Anyways, freeze anything that's about to go bad, and if you freeze it at peak, it'll be at peak when you do it. Like when we can, we try to get the vegetables and fruits at its peak because it has more nutrients and more vitamins and everything else in it. So you want that in your freezer as well. Wrap cheese in plastic, in paper, not plastic. And then the wax, parchment, and then foil. Egg test. Fresh eggs sink to the bottom. Bad goes to the top. So you want to not make sure you get the bad ones. Don't store onions and potatoes together. I have that issue. I've got them in plastic containers. They're in the same thing. And I think that's what makes my potatoes sometimes do the weird stuff. Revive old veggies with ice water for 15 to 30 minutes. I never thought about doing that. Store coffee in your freezer. Breadcrumbs before it gets bad. Citrus lasts longer on the counter, not in the fridge. After 2 weeks, if you haven't used it, then put it in the refrigerator. Save bean cooking juice. It makes great for thickener and more. And for like your soups and all those good things as well. I'm trying to get through these. There's some things that they had back in the day that we don't really do a lot of now. There's a few things that they still do. But let's see what we've got. A root cellar. Now, my grandparents' house, you had to go outside to go into the kitchen or into the basement. So when you first got in there, it had cement walls. Well, then there was this old wooden door that always cracked. So it's kind of like, yeah. And it opened up into a root cellar. And then actually past that was just a crawl space so that they could get under the new addition. Because, you know, those older houses, they start out little and they just got bigger and bigger. But that root cellar was always so creepy. But it kept her stuff really, really good. And she kept her canned goods there, potatoes, onions, everything. She had stuff hanging down there, everything. So if I could do it here in the city, I would have a root cellar. A smokehouse, we've talked about that. I wish I could have one. Churning butter, obviously, unless you have a farm, you're not going to have that much milk to do it, but you can always make it by hand as well. And I know that, I think AJ did it too, and I know my kids have where they churn butter at farms when they go there, and they think it's really cool, so maybe it's something you could get your grandkids or kids to do. Making soap with ashes. I'm not sure, you'd have to look up the recipe for it, but I guess it makes amazing soap. And candle dipping. And people would do their candles and they would make enough to last all year from like the lard and different things. And that's stuff that the internet's for. We can look up recipes. Canning jars. Do you know that the first canning jars were produced in 1858? By 1900, the canning jars were very, very common. Sourdough starter. I know that I did it. I don't like it. My daughter-in-law still has her starter. There are starters that are over 100 years old that's been passed down from generation to generation. Salt curing meat. Darning and mending your clothes. And this one said 71 pounds of clothes are thrown away each year from a family. If you think about that, that's a lot. So that brings it into the next thing, scrap quilting. And my son has talked about, you know, doing that and having me sew them together, a quilt. But, you know, there's a lot of clothes that I throw, well, we try to donate them, but if they get real bad and you throw them out, I know that you can recycle them here too. I'm not sure how they do that, but you can recycle your clothes. But if you're a sewer, even if a hand sewer, you know, you could always make quilts from that. You know, if you have little kids, if I was raising my kids again, I would actually make a quilt from things that they had left over, you know, that wasn't stuff I could donate or whatever, and make them a quilt from it. Barrel water catching. They say you can get 500 gallons a year of water by doing that. But you have to watch your local thing to see if you can even do it. Ice harvesting. I'm sure we don't do that anymore, but maybe they do in the UP. But they would get tons and tons and tons of ice and then keep it in an ice house. And they would literally go out on the ice in the wintertime and just like, they had a tool that would cut it. They'd carry it to the house, whatever. I mean, think about how brainy, how much you had to use your brains back then to actually make things work. Pickling with salt brine, fermenting, rendering lard, making jerky on wooden racks, hand pumped well. Now, if Tom and I were to buy a property, and I actually talked to a couple of well drilling companies, and a lot of people since COVID have had the hand pumped wells put in as well. Because if everything else goes bad, you don't need power to your well house, nothing else. It pumps straight from the ground. And we talked about if we kind of bought something kind of off-grid, but not off-grid, that we would do that. And as long as you've pumped it up and you leave the handle up, it'll keep moving. The water will, until you shut that down. And my grandparents actually had one of those. And we always thought it was kind of fun. You know? So we had fun with it. So if I could do that in the city, but we can't. But if I was out in the country, I would run one. And it is something that you can actually do yourself. And they have do-yourself kits and everything else that you can buy for that. I know this sounds really stupid, but splitting firewood. You know, I didn't know this, but if you do it according to a certain way in the green or whatever, it actually splits easier. But that's something that a lot of people have forgotten to do because now they just get cords delivered to them. Homemade apple cider vinegar. And I've seen that they do have a recipe out there that you can bring it up to the 5% that you need to can. I don't have the recipe, but you can look that up. Flint fire starting. That's something that I really do want to try to learn because I'm not good at starting fires. I usually leave that to Tom. I want like 10 newspapers and whatever, and then, you know, but we have tubes filled with lint from the dryer. We have other things that we can use too. But I think that would be cool to learn that skill, just in case you ever need it. You know, because we want to do this without fear. But if we have no ways that we're learning anything, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't even know how to build a fire. I got a fire pit in my backyard that the husband always does, whatever. You know, I'm out of this, I'm out of that, I can't start a fire. Instead of being fearful about it, learn that skill. So that if something ever bad does pop up, guess what? You know how to do it. You can fix it and make it right. Now, this is something that, you know, I mean, there's a lot of things in here you guys aren't going to use. But snare trapping for small game. And I know when I lived up north area, a lot of people do that, or they do traps. And most of it would be for what the next thing come in, it's tanning hides. And I found out that, again, you'll have to look up the recipe, but if you want to tan your own hides, if you use parts of the brain, it actually tans that hide so that it'll be like perfectly soft, like the Native Americans did back in the day and early settlers. So that's a really good idea. And you know, when you tan a hide, that stuff is warm. It's very, very warm. Spinning wool into yarn. I've done it at a thing, but you know, I guess women used to make a ton of money for their day by spinning the wool into yarn. Foraging wild edibles and like walnuts and all those things too. You can do about 200 pounds a year in food if you actually get out and forage. I mean, there's mushrooms and nuts and berries and all kinds of stuff that you can do. If my mobility was better, I would love to do that. I really would. A lot of people did this back then too, home births and midwives. And I actually watch a channel, Kendra Full of Joy, and she used to be a midwife. Reading the weather, and this is something I didn't know too. And actually it's so funny because when we drove up north Monday, I'm not used to seeing cows laying down, or horses for that matter. And all these cows were laying down in the field. Well, according to the old farmers, and actually they go kind of by that now, that means there's going to be rain within 12 hours. Hey. Herbal medicines, I've been wanting to get more into that as well, so that's something I'm going to be looking into doing as well. This is the one that science has still not figured out how they do it and how it accomplishes as much as it does. But Springhouse water, it keeps your food really, really cold. And a lot of times they'd have that Springhouse in the dead center of the town, and then they would, you know, everybody knew where their food was, and it would keep food cold. Milk, eggs, all that good stuff. And back then too, so maybe if me and Tom ever does buy a piece of property, maybe we could do this. Highly unlikely at our age, but log cabins with mortar and no nails. And actually, I've seen those. And I think if you go to, is it Illinois? I can't think of it, but we pulled over and we went to what was one time Lincoln's house. There was no nails in it. It was all just mortar. The big one too is seed saving. You guys, so much of that seed now is GMO. They can say that it's not, but I don't know that you can trust it. There are seeds that came from plants from over 100 years ago. And something I didn't know about that too is that when you plant seeds that were saved from your plants, they adapt to grow to your soil, and they've already proved themselves bountiful and plentiful through your soil that you use. So actually, you're going to keep getting better and better plants because they're original and they have accustomed to your area. Now, the last one is, I watched this video, and we all worry about water. You know, I live by the river and I have some straws and stuff like that, but you know, if it came to long term, like, I'm not sure if I've got enough stuff to make it work. So this, if you bought one of each thing, he says it will take $36. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here, 7 things, I think. And I never thought about some of them. The first one is a heavy-duty contractor bags. He said not regular trash bags. It will hold up to 40 pounds of human waste. You can use it as emergency toilet liner, rain gear, rainwater collection, contamination barrier that you can put, you know, up on your windows if anything's trying to come in, whatever, a tarp, and more. So I think I really do want to get some of those, not just for like, oh my gosh, it's the end of times, but there's a lot of uses for that that I didn't even think about that, you know, I think I'd like to invest in. Unscented bleach, unbranded, just plain bleach, not spillless kind, nothing like that, just plain, and he said unbranded actually, plain bleach. 8 drops of water will clear, 8 drops will clear 1 gallon of water in a half hour. 4,000 gallons of water can be purified with 1 gallon of making it up like that. I'm telling you, that's a lot of water. So we worry about storing water. You know, they say 1, but everybody says 3 gallons a day, plus your pets. Think about that. I mean, it's you think about, I'm going to drink bleach. But let me tell you something. If you've never worked in a kitchen, your tables are cleaned with bleach. Your silverware, everything else, bleach runs through that. Everything in that kitchen is cleaned down with bleach. So if you think you've never ever drank bleach, never tasted bleach, yes you have. You just don't taste it because it rinses off. And it dissolves in the water as well. A kitchen's biggest thing when you're, I don't know now, I haven't professionally cooked in ages, but bleach and water. And so you've had it in your system and maybe not even known it. Unscented baby wipes. It says make sure there's no scent to it, nothing else. It can be used to clean top, bottom, whatever. Do not use it if you've used a toilet because it doesn't have any antibacterial in it and you could spread E. coli. So make sure you have, you know, something else to clean your hands afterwards for that. Pool Shock was 68% hypochlorite, granular form. It's $5 for a 1 pound bag, 1 teaspoon for 2 gallons of water, 1 ounce for 100 gallons of water. One bag will do 10,000 gallons of water. That's a lot. And I never thought of Pool Shock ever because I don't have a pool. So why would I go to that department? But that's some good news to have. Odor management, they say instead of using like your kitty litter or whatever, how we've been taught for years, use pine pellets. Because even if you have to make up a toilet, you can put the pine pellets in and they break down, from what I've seen on there, they break down and they absorb the odor. So, and they work for the spills and everything else too. So pine pellets, never thought of using that. 3% hydrogen peroxide can be used for so many things. It can boil out sores and cuts and burns and all those good things. But if you look it up, you can find all kinds of uses for it. And then a 5-gallon bucket with a gamma lid. And I do have those. And they say you can use them as a portable potty. You can use them to do all kinds of stuff. That at least 1 5-gallon bucket with a gamma lid. So we went through a whole bunch of stuff that I've looked up and watched videos on. And of course, I'm not the only one that has videos out there of that stuff. I want you guys to understand, I didn't do any of this for fear. And I honestly did go back to the olden days and to, you know, the hard times and see what they did to survive. You know, we can have food all day long, but like I say, sometimes you may not have enough food. And there's some ideas on there how to get it. Sometimes it takes actual learning and skills to get through something. And just like the cheese, why did my grandma do it that way? Well, now I know why. And there might be things that are simple like that that we can use in everyday life. Because, you know, like I said about how many pounds of food gets wasted, how much trash gets out there, everything else. If we can, you know, get back from doing a lot of that stuff, that'd be good. Like my son, he said something to me about recycling. And I said, honey, we were recycling before you even knew what recycling was. And I said, like, my grandparents didn't throw away anything. I mean, they could take an actual, I swear to you, when my grandma, after my grandpa died, she would have a, you know, a paper bag, you know, from the grocery store. And that's what she would use all week long. She never needed a trash service, nothing like that. She'd just take it out to the burn barrel and burn it. I mean, obviously we can't do that everywhere, but that was how little trash. And that actually, not to be gross, but their septic wasn't that great. So any of the, you know, the toilet paper went into a bag and then that would get burned as well. But, yeah, so, I mean, and I think about, you know, how many jars and everything. My grandpa had baby food jars downstairs that kept, you know, screws and nails and just all different kinds of stuff. Coffee cans were used to save for, you know, all different kinds of, you know, I can remember, I think it was down here in our basement. Maybe it was Tom's dad's basement. But he had, you know, coffee cans full of a certain nail. I can look back here on a shelf and Tom has got screws in a thing that he holds. We used to save all of our butter dishes, all of the, you know, I always called them our Tupperware. You know, whipping cream, all that stuff, we used all those containers over and over again. And the jars, I have canned in those. As long as they got the pouncy lid on them, you can do that. But, you know, you can store things in those too. And like over the holidays, all the Cool Whip ones, I sent them to Tom to work, and I says, when they finally get ucky, you know, I mean, I'd wash them, but when they get real stained up, I go, just go ahead and chuck it. But, you know, I mean, we recycled before it was cool. We recycled because we didn't go out and buy everything. We didn't go out and replace everything. They fixed it. They did whatever. And, you know, I would love to see it go back to maybe not ever spending money, because, you know, I love Amazon. But, you know, I mean, maybe we can help reduce more so that not so much trash is going into our dumps and whatever. So I'm hoping that, you know, through all of this, I don't know how many people will watch it, but I hope that you learn some maybe skills and maybe some things that you want to learn, so that if things ever do get bad, you're prepared. We can prep, and I suggest you do. I am not going to be one that says, you don't need any of that stuff. That's not happening. Prep up, and the things that you eat and that you use and whatever, but learn some skills too. There's so many things that when I watch that I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that either. I don't know how to do that either. And you know, I just thought of something. I need a bucket on a string or rope. Because yes, I do live just 2 houses from the river. God, I hope I never have to drink that water. But anyway, it's far down the bank. How am I going to get that water out of there? I would need a bucket with rope. I just thought about that. See, we need to think logically on what we would do if we needed something, you know? I used to think, oh my gosh, we're drinking that water, and I'm like, ugh. And then when they came out here to check our water one day, I found out that we have 17 or 27 wells, and how deep they are, and they go right below the shale and everything. The Lansing has one of the cleanest waters in the nation. So I'm like, whew. But they still have fluoride and stuff in them. Would love to get reverse osmosis one day, but you know, that's expensive too. But anyways, I hope this series has helped a little bit. If you didn't get anything from it, I'm sorry. But I hope that you did. Even if it's one thing that you got, that if stuff really got bad and it could help you to survive, or to your family to survive, then we won. You know, a lot of stuff is getting thrown at us every single day. Prices are going up. You know, we're at this war and we're in that war, and oh my gosh, they're going to blow us up, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Holy goodness, if we keep living like that, all that's going to kill us. And they're not going to have to fire a single shot. We're just going to be so stressed out that we just keel over dead. I mean, probably not, but you know what I'm saying. It's like our brain is on just overload. And I've watched a few shows that, you know, they're like, listen, this is causing you more damage, because all this stuff deadens you inside. Not like, well, maybe physically too, but all that fear and anxiety and all that stuff, eventually it builds up. So let's not let that do that to us. So anyways, I'm rambling. I'm going to get this video out. We're going to have a leftover dinner tonight from the freezer, so let's see how it comes out. Never done it before. But you guys have a very, very blessed day. Know you're loved, you're wanted, you're needed. And if you have ideas or suggestions, put them below. Let's be as a community and help each other out. I'll see you guys at supper.